Welcome to the Concrete Podcast, where we bring together the people who design it, produce it, place it, and build with it every day. Our goal is simple: to unify the concrete industry by sharing real conversations about materials, methods, and the challenges we're all working to solve. From ready-mix producers, contractors, engineers, researchers, and innovators, this podcast is about learning from each other and pushing our industry forward. Hello, welcome to the Concrete Podcast. I'm Joe Shetterley, and my co-host,
I'm Joel Cookston. Welcome.
Today, I want to give a shout out to George J. Shaw and all their crews out there that are helping our industry each and every day. And thank you, Steve DeGrave, for all that you're doing as well. Today is an exciting day for me.
Absolutely.
One of an individual here that has been with me through my life's journey in concrete for over 20 plus years. I have to say he's the first one that challenged me in thought and in practice and in methods. Quite some times. We've had a lot of conversations over the last 20 years, and I'd like to present to you Mr. Chris Wolf.
Chris Wolf.
Thank you for the
Thank you for joining the show.
Thank you for the sentiments.
It's been a long time coming.
Yes, I'm glad to help.
So I want you to give the audience a little background on you, where you come from, how you got to
all
where
the
you're at
accomplishments,
today.
all
your
the
accomplishments.
books and the movies.
Okay, this is going to be less than 5 minutes. I'm not that self-centered, but I'm the psychologist in the room. I didn't like the math with engineering. And I was the odd student because I didn't care about the facts. I didn't care about the names of the people on the Mayflower. And that's how I was graded. So I was one of those students that, I don't want to call it the Fonz, but I really wasn't interested in that stuff. But if you can get me to a subject I'm interested, chemistry, biology, geometry, cold. I've got it in an hour. And I keep repeating, and I don't just drop it. Now that person came forward, went to college, and I learned about people. Now, when I graduated, I never thought I was going to use my degree because it was the 70s and nobody needed psychologists. And there was a dead end.
They were self-medicating at that point, right?
Hard stop.
Right? Yeah.
Go be a salesman. I don't know. What else can you do? Well, I didn't tell you this, but on my senior year on my spring trip, I was in the Bahamas and I broke my femurs against a telephone pole. Femurs, both. So I'm in traction for something like 2 months in Nassau. I don't know if you ever noticed, but back in the 70s, there wasn't radio, there wasn't TV, they didn't even bring me books. I literally sat there in a bed. People didn't visit. There was no letters. It took 3 days to get a letter. All that stuff is true. So I had this long period of self-inspection. Now, before that, I had signed up. I had already passed all the tests to go fly for the Navy. So I was in and I was excited. That was my life's work. So when that happened, quickly, hard stop. So I had to reinvent myself. Mm-hmm. Hard week.
After the injury.
Hard month.
Yep.
Yeah, after the injury.
Yep.
So it took me a very long time to recover. And as I'm recovering, now I've got to go find a job because I want to marry this girl.
You need money. You need money.
Suddenly I had to be an adult. Ugh.
Yeah, challenging even for some today.
So I went to work for a company that said, look, we make stuff that goes in concrete. And we're short of a few guys. Can you pass this test? Now, I just got out of college. They give me a one-page test that asks, how long does it take to get a train to go from Chicago to Detroit? I mean, I could do that in my head, right? And so, done in 3 minutes, they says, what? And I think all they wanted to do is know that you can at least do the math. Mm-hmm. And so I was clear. So they were excited about me. So they said, please go to Indianapolis. I had a choice of Boston or New Jersey. Now, I don't want to go into the details why that was a bad choice, but they were bad choices. So I've been in Indianapolis in the concrete business since 71. Now, when I got here, the industry was ignorant. Like we had the same aggregate going into 5-bag, 4-bag, 6-bag. I mean, we didn't even adjust for aggregate volume. There was no such thing as admixtures. I mean, we literally knew nothing. So here I am.
Was it a simpler time then?
It was actually much simpler because nobody asked any questions. And what was worse for me, it was harder for me because people says, we don't need that.
Right.
We're doing fine. So then I would try really hard to make this work. And then, of course, I knew immediately, I'm the son of a draftsman, okay? So I knew immediately that I was never a salesman, and I'm not gonna be a salesman. So the only way I could prosper was to read what no one else read. So my path going forward was to become literate in all these new subjects. I was a motivated learner. And from that, I started spreading the word.
You're reading the small print that no
I'm
one else
reading,
wants.
I'm reading 4
Selling
pages
through
back
education.
on Google.
Now, you just said something. You came to Indianapolis in 1971
Yeah,
and started in the concrete business.
yeah,
I was just born.
yeah,
It was
That's 54 years ago.
right,
My question to you 54 years ago, before I was even born,
yeah.
what were even the concrete issues that you even had to mess
See, and that was the piece that hit me between the eyes when I turned 70. Okay. So 50 years out, I realized that these problems never go away. They are the same. And the problems then, I mean, and what's interesting is that back then, a little piece of knowledge was like a truckload because nobody knew that. And then now we're to the day where I offer another piece of knowledge and they say, well, wait, compared to what? And have you considered the alternate? And why does the ACI committee disagree? And where does that come from? And all those things are now filtering into our world. And our culture is getting more literate. And that's all positive.
or
because-
overstimulated based on real information or fake information.
Yeah, the piece that I have trouble with is that, I have one of those archive sayings, I collect them, that nobody learns anything on a podium. Now, what happens when you're on a podium? Well, you just won. You got the right shoes, you got the right teammates, you don't need any help. Now, I look at the simile to that is I've got people that walk the earth in this business that are doing $1 million floors, that have been doing it for 20 years, that are constantly being pandered by people trying to sell them things. You are really special. You're big.
You're different.
Ooh, we love you, or I love me. That's really what it is. And so somehow that hardens you to the fact that the floor is moving. There is new. This isn't a dead end. This is ongoing. And so, in a way, unless you're a motivated learner, you're not going to hear anything. I mean, I use the analogy all the time. Why do women go to a shoe store? So here I am in a DSW, and I'm standing in the men's aisle, which is 1, and I'm looking at 10, 15 lanes, and there's 10 or 15 women more or less alone. I'm thinking, but I can't be in this shoe store for 10 minutes. I need a shoe, waterproof, got it, home, done. Me have shoe. They're different. So the question is, why are they there? They're there to learn. Now, they may be in there to buy a spike heel that they need for tonight. That's a different thing. But a lot of them are there because it's fun. And they want to see what's out there. And they would like to buy, but they don't really have to buy. So it's their entertainment, as an example. And I find that interesting because, again, curiosity is exactly what drives this whole story. So if you're not a curious person, you're not really a motivated listener. So I call myself a librarian. That's it. I'm a guy that did the reading that says you find your book in aisle 7.
A curator of information.
Ish.
Yes.
So then so when you got to Indianapolis, who was your first job with?
Master builders.
Okay.
And back then, their motive was to, we'll teach you how to grout. We'll teach you how to. And admixtures were the subject. And so what I realized was I was told that admixtures are great for concrete. And back then, they were, because the cement was different back then. And nobody knows that there's an evolution in cement. And so they're blind. So if you can't perceive that there has been changes, you think you're doing great because it worked last year. It's not the same. The point there is that if you can deflocculate the cement grains, which are attracted to each other with electrical forces, you get better usage out of cement. But nobody ever asks the question, well, how big is a cement grain? And how dense is a cement paste? And by the way, does it retard concrete? So this is where your dad battered me. Because I was a salesman, would say, I've got some books here, and I'd like you to try this stuff. What is it? Not interested. And I couldn't understand it. He says, it just doesn't work. And then I have people like you tell me, I don't cure concrete. And I'm thinking to myself, this is completely opposite from the normal. ACI will kill you if they could, because you're a problem. But then I had to say, well, wait a minute. It's true. It's real. It's here. It's not going away. It came from somewhere. What was the origin of this story? And so again, curiosity, you start researching it. And then you quickly realize that there are streets from early concrete days that are still there, as is.
So before we walk down that history lane, you started at Master Builders, and then walk the audience through from Master Builders and how you ended up at Shelby.
I was a troublemaker.
I can identify with that.
We all can.
Yes, sir. Midway through my career, I noticed that this stuff doesn't work.
What stuff?
All the stuff.
All the stuff. Nothing was working. All the pieces.
Well, it was conditionally true. See, you got to remember that there's conditionally true versus secondary realizations. You realize,
after the fact,
the contraries are more important than the point of interest. So suddenly you realize, wait a minute, what about? And so these people were saying, just sell this stuff. Stop calling. Stop talking to the lab technician. Stop talking to our chemist.
Just sell the admixtures that we've created. Just sell the SKU number. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So
sell it.
To where you're already, you want to know what you're selling, how it works,
diving into
all the pieces.
Well, me being a little bit lack of confidence, I don't like it. It's rather common, actually. You shouldn't walk into a gunfight with a knife. You should get ready.
Yes.
And you should have an exit plan. You should have an objective. Don't start a fight that you can't finish in 10 minutes. So I over-prepare. So if you're going to challenge me, thank you. And
I'll take the challenge, but I'll be prepared for that challenge.
Right. So I have another saying. This is, I can tolerate ignorance because I am, and I can tolerate aggressive because I am. But you put the two together, I'm going to have to make you cry because you didn't prepare. It's not me, it's you. You didn't do the reading. So I'm not that mean professor that's going to give you a C. I'm just saying, go back. Here's where you look, because I don't have this urge to belittle people. In fact, if anything, late in life, I realized that everybody has faults and they're legitimate. You've earned them. You're entitled. They're good.
So did the admixture company have faults?
They did, because they were busy selling things. It's like you. If you're trying to sell a car, then you're not interested in the pool.
Right. Blindly selling, not understanding.
Right. Knowing but not understanding. And the piece that really gets us in trouble the most is that everything you do has a list of things that you should also be doing. And that brings us to this. So here I am. There was a point in time, about 10 years, where I got fired or quit 5 jobs because I was still a troublemaker.
All in the concrete industry.
And this is not good, because you got a wife going, what the hell's wrong with you?
Why don't you just
get along?
Put on the hat.
Do this?
And can't you just do it? Why do you have to question everything?
I hear that all the time. It's like, why don't you just get along? It's like, I can't get along when I know something's not right.
Or keep doing the same thing, expecting different results.
You're saying that as a 50-year-old, and I'm saying this as a 70-year-old. You'll get there. Maybe not quickly, but you'll get there. And the thing you'll realize,
I can still have a lot of my father in me, and he didn't change much in the 70s.
Right. You find something that works, why change it?
Yeah, so there it is.
So your wife was saying, stop changing.
Time out. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Joe, you're not allowed to say that in this building.
Yeah, I hear that quite a bit.
Right, because at the end of the day, frankly, it's constantly moving. This is expanding. I mean, knowledge is expanding. So if you're running a thread saying, I really want to say admixtures, well, wait a minute, we've moved on. And so you shouldn't be selling admixtures.
So did you move on?
Yeah.
From admixtures?
Yeah. And
what was the impetus of moving on? Was it that you didn't understand it, that you didn't want to follow the go out and sell it mentality?
I had a level of success. But my level of success was saying, don't buy it because I said so. By the way, let me help you. You should be considering these other things also.
Not admixture related or related?
But for me to sell an admixture, I said, you must also do the following. And that got traction because I was there to say, I was a consultant. I didn't realize it, but I was a consultant.
Well,
Yes.
this is where I got spoiled as a contractor. I only seen one perspective of a way it was done. Chris was always more worried about me and the company succeeding versus selling something. Chris made sure, and I've said it many times, even on recordings, I said, he would always say if there was something trouble with my mix, I would go to him and he'd go, what time do you want to go home? And I always thought it was strange. Like, what do you mean, what time I want to go home? I just want a better mix. But then when he would say, no, what time you want to go home? I can adjust this, this, and this and make you go home because you need to be home with your family.
Right.
Well, I've never heard anybody say they was worried about whether I went home with my family or not. It was always
Right.
go, go, go. So anyways, well, that made me feel better as a contractor that someone was actually worried about what he was giving me.
Again,
he just wasn't giving me a product to sell. He was giving me a solution and a fix to my problem. And he was fixing two problems, my one at home, and he was also fixing my one in the field. He was balancing it out. So when I say a platinum standard in the industry that needs to be duplicated, that right there needs to be duplicated. It comes with more empathy and more compassion toward the end user, which is the concrete.
It's not about finding or selling the product. It's about finding the solution.
I will
whether
preach
it's the
it
product
from
or
the rooftop. Shelby Materials treats their customers like people.
Shout out to Shelby.
That period. End of story. I'm not. I mean, if it makes people mad, good, glad. Well, then pick up and start caring about your customers.
We're talking about customer service and people.
Yeah, just people in general. Just don't treat them like they're cattle. Give them a solution.
There it is, right there. You know, and I, for years, I've trying to understand this. I mean, I study change. I study personality types. It's my interest anyway. But still, if I want to create a change, I've learned that, Joe, I can't change you. I'm sorry.
I can educate you.
I can tell you things,
Right.
but you're not going to hear them. You know,
I mean, how many
and
times does it take?
I could point at a sign, but you're not going to see the sign. So unless you kind of become a motivated listener or someone that prefers not to suffer this way,
Well,
then
there's
we
the
can
building of trust, right? I mean, your relationship didn't start at the first time that you were on his job site, right? It came time after time and piece after piece. So walk us back through you left the admix business.
So
And then what happens after that?
there was a time that came along, and you know, I'm making a living, and I have a cadre of people that call me like, "What happened? What happened?" So in other words, I had that going, and it was going fine. I didn't say okay. There's a magic word. If you say fine, I'm gonna have to probe deeper. If you say you're okay, I don't have to probe as deep. I'm fine.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
That's a loaded word.
I'm fine. No, you're not fine. My daughter is in the business, and she says there's an acronym for that. So FINE. I'm not going to go through that.
Okay.
But
Next podcast.
he saw me, and I remember sitting in his office fighting with him about, you really don't need to hire me. You're getting all the benefits. You're getting everything I got anyway. I'm giving you everything I got. You don't need to hire me. And he actually fought me. He says, no, we really do. And so that started my transition from materials and solutions and plumbing and all that other stuff to where, okay, now I can talk about mixed designs and testing. And then once I made that transition, I discovered this whole new world of problems. and I was unaware because I didn't really look deeply into what you go through or what a truck driver goes through or any of those other things. And so in a way, there was another 2 decades, 3 decades, I can't count, anyway, of learning.
A while, yeah.
So
within this new organization.
Right, so then I get to the point, and I don't know, do you want to go into the first conversation we had with you?
Well, yeah, I mean, one big reason I sit on this side of the table and have a lot of knowledge that I have is from you.
Thank
from
you.
you challenging me way back when I was just as a new customer of Shelby. I mean, I was like every other concrete finisher. Go, 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 didn't care, blame everybody for everything whatever it might be, because...
Well, you had your hands full with
everything.
The
schedules,
job, the
GCs,
job, right.
and I thought, everybody was out to get the poor finisher, but it was also da-da-da. But Chris was the one that actually challenged me. And then when I had an issue, he'd bring me a piece of paper and say, you need to read this. And I remember the first one was an ACI 309 or 309 was about vibration, because I was having a vibration issue in a contract. He goes, you need to read this. I'm like, man, I ain't got time to read this stuff. But when I read it, he showed me the power of learning. When I read that document,
educating yourself,
I was understanding, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know all this was in here.
Right.
Well, then after that, I couldn't wait for anything Chris gave me. Like anything he would give me,
like what
I
else you got?
consumed.
So this started on a job site, I assume.
It was a collection of things.
It's a collection of everything.
But the magic day happened. The magic day happened when I didn't see Joe weekly. I just saw him hit and miss.
When there was a problem.
Yeah, when there's a problem. So I'm sitting in a job trailer, and we're talking to people that are cranky. This isn't right. We're not paying for this. And of course, they go for the low-hanging fruit. People at the bottom of the food chain. I'm below Joe because I'm a material supplier. So they shoot at me first, and then they try to shoot at Joe. So I'm sitting here in the room, and I'm kind of well prepared. I got all of our documentation. We did it your way here. And then Joe walks in. I don't remember the exact details, but they start attacking. He says, no, this is what you wrote in the spec. And not only did he say it, he quoted it. I'm thinking,
verbatim.
I mean, wait a minute. This is new. And what was interesting is after you quoted about 3 attempts of them attacking, I don't know if you remember this, but they kind of sat in their chair and said, it's not Joe.
Right. So were you floored that he did his education?
I was amazed.
His research, and he was prepared. Like you say, you've got to be prepared.
So that was my tell. When I got to that point, I realized, okay, there was a tell.
This guy's different.
Worthy.
Oh, that's a heavy word.
Worthy is, you can talk. See, so Joe, you're not in a worthy state yet because we have this new endeavor. And so the part that happened is once I learned all those things, I came to the conclusion that there is one driver in all of this, and it is the one thing we don't control, and it's water.
That's right.
So then there was this massive job we did, and it was very complicated. A lot of high-dollar, fancy Chicago people coming down on us, threatening us with bodily injury. And we, the project was delayed, supposed to go in the fall, but now it's late winter, and we got to get this built. So somebody made the decision, we're going, and are you ready? And I says, yes, but we didn't talk about cold aggregates. What do you want to do about that? And we had that conversation, and suddenly the game's on. So we pour 6 parts of a big box floor, and like a clock, they cracked in 6 days.
Oh, wow.
Crack 1, slab 2 is okay. Tomorrow, both of them. Next day, all 3 of them. Now, I had never seen that. And the threats were overwhelming. Like, we're going to sue your ass. You're replacing this whole thing. This is your fault. Again, low-hanging fruit. So I was responsible for this. And I'm very conscientious like that. And I thought it was my fault. So
wrong mix design. I mean,
what did
on your
what
shoulders.
did I forget? What did I not see that I should have seen? That was the thought.
Right.
So I don't know if you knew this, but I have a closet, and the closet has nothing but shelves in it. You know, I must have had 100 volumes of different things, you know, and I somewhat organized. I'm not that good. But I pulled everything down that had anything to do with cracking, shrinkage, cold weather. And the stack of paper I had to read was about that tall. And so I read it all. And then I realized, I don't think it's our fault. And then I made a few phone calls to people that I knew, and they recognized me. I mean, I did get to have that. So I made the calls to them, and I said, by the way, this is what we're doing. What do you think? I know exactly what, they all said, I think I know exactly what happened. And so they, again, convinced me that it really wasn't our fault. Once again, it was the final blow that water really is the why. Now, during that trial, literally, a guy, like our company is very kind to people trying to demonstrate something. We want to see everything. You know, you might actually have the magic potion. Let's hear. And
Prove
so,
it wrong.
yeah, but not so often. And so suddenly, this guy says, look, we think we have a product that's going to be great for decorative concrete and color concrete, because we know that those are hard to do. It takes extra hours, always difficult, always high dollar concrete. I says, okay, let's look. And so it came out of a can, sprayed it on, and it was clearly, obviously, significantly different. And I didn't even understand why, because I was just exposed to it. And I didn't even know what the word colloidal silica meant. Is that stuff floating in other stuff? What, you know, is it reactive? Is it non-reactive? What's the particle size? How density? What's the pH?
Nothing.
And so time passed, and sure enough, time after time, every demo, the thing was significantly better.
And do you remember the year that was?
I don't remember on purpose.
Good answer.
Good answer.
Great answer. Because
I'm just
from that demo that you was at, and that's where you got excited, and that's where I was at the height of my career in placing.
And you were full
millions
of yourself.
of square feet.
Oh,
You
yeah.
were full of yourself.
I mean, I was.
What's this? He was full of himself.
Yeah.
I was busy, man.
And so Joe was one of those people. I put this thing together, and you know, and I heard about 30-20-10. There's a thing out there called 30-20-10. If you're making a presentation, there's a formula. Do this, and you're effective.
Right.
So I did 30-20-10, and I said, Joe, I did it. Water is the why was the PowerPoint. And by the way, I want that back. You've never.
I still got it.
I still
I
have
want
it.
it.
I still got it.
I want the original.
Yeah, I don't throw nothing away.
World. He said he'd give it to
I
me.
still got it. I still have
He
the
hasn't
original.
given to me
What
for
did I just show you the other
5
day?
years.
I just showed him the other day. I said, hey, here's all the pictures that Chris laid on my desk that day. I said I needed to try this.
Yeah. Now it laid there for 3 weeks, 2 weeks, pick a number. Nothing.
It was quite a bit of time before I answered the phone because I was so busy.
Like forever. You know, and I thought, here we go again.
That's par for the course, right? I mean, you'd bring him information and you want it to resonate and
my life.
Well, first of all, me and Chris always had
life in a nutshell.
Well, me and Chris had these debates because from the time he went to that demo and I'm pouring concrete, we would have curing debates all the time. Because at the end of the day, I still don't. I argue with myself. What does curing even mean? I mean, what does it actually mean? And Chris would come to me and go, you know, it was just to the point now, if I had an issue, he could, Joe, you cured? I'm like, I don't cure nothing. Period.
And what's curing?
And what curing means to me is, all right, you got to control moisture, you got to control temperature. Now, whether I did that with a sheet of plastic or I timed things out differently when I poured or this or that, but Chris will testify, I rarely had any issues with my concrete ever.
Finishing technique.
First of all,
right?
it was all about I try to adhere to good practices. But
Timing.
it also helps, and I will say it for the record, if you have a good mix design and it's set up for success, it will be successful. You can't fix a bad mix design. I don't care how much curing you do. You could sink it in the ocean. The bad mix is not going to perform just because, I cured it. Nah, it's a bullcrap statement.
Right.
Your mix design has to be ready for success. Any other curing pieces are
they help.
Helping other pieces of the property.
But if you start with a bad mix.
But me and Chris we would go around about this, and he would just sometimes go, there's just no way. I mean, I used to just take a bucket around and set it out just because when people would think, did you cure it? I'm like, yeah, there you
here's
go.
Here's my curing compound. It's right there.
But I didn't have problems.
Joe, this is an aha moment for you, and I offer this.
Yeah.
You are just like the people you're talking to.
Exactly.
So if you can't figure out how you could have, should have, would have done it better, then you can't help them.
Right.
They need help. They just don't believe it.
So that gets into when you laid those papers, and it took me a while to do that because
2-3 weeks. You say?
Yeah, no, it was a long time.
It was a while.
Because when he handed them to me, he was just in that demo thing, and I had like 7-8 warehouses going. I didn't have time. But then when I finally reached out to him, and it was getting close to the end of the season, we set up a demo in January, and was at their Westfield plant, and that's when all the the people came over and we're spraying stuff all over.
There's a whole bunch of people trying to get educated. This has got to be snake oil. I know this is wrong. I don't believe it.
But I want to come and watch.
But then when we do it, me and Chris started different conversations. Then it's like, all right, somehow this is holding water. This is where me and Chris would start talking about water.
Okay, so there's a moment, and I'm pretty sure this was the moment. And Joe kind of gets to the edge of the slab and he kind of rubs on it a little bit, and then he skittles his trowel 2, 3, 4 feet. He said, "This never happens."
Never.
I says, "I know. That's what I've been telling you."
Finally, Joe listens.
Finally, you listen.
It took me a while because, first of all, I'm a skeptical guy, period.
Right.
I mean, but
you're a skeptical guy.
But you have to be.
Oh, in this industry, for sure.
Why? Because there are enemies at the gate. And no one wants to be found out to be a fool.
No.
Now, I've been a fool so many times, I'm immune to it. I'm just a fool. You can't do what I do and not have people ridicule you. Like, geez, can you believe that guy? So, but again, no one wants to be Chicken Little.
No.
And no one wants to be beheaded. And no one wants to lose their fortune or found out to be no longer allowed or eligible for consideration. So everybody's conservative. Of course it is. But that's a 70-year-old talking, and you're still 50, and you haven't come to that conclusion yet.
Deal.
But back at that point in time, we had good materials, or materials that we knew how they were performing.
Yeah.
Right. And so this was a bolt-on that a finisher saw, this feels different, right? You could feel it in your body.
Well, to Chris,
but it wasn't a material
his
thing.
mind, scientific mind, everything went on overdrive. It started getting, well, then I got hooked because the finishing process was like,
it was different.
Man, I can do a lot with this. If my methods were pretty good back then, this is only going to make my methods better and easier, because to execute methods according to ACI or whatever your methods might be, to do them correctly is hard in a world of variables. I mean, it's extremely hard. It's extremely mental strain because you're always thinking.
Enemy at
You're
the
changing.
gate.
Yep,
Enemy
your
at the
mind.
gate.
We need the red lights.
Yeah, we need to put the hell scene on, I guess.
But you see, the point is that no one, you are completely normal, and you are exceptional because you actually do the reading. There are people just like you that don't do the reading, that just, hey, what's for lunch?
Well, I got tired of paying for other people's mistakes, and it wasn't my fault.
Right.
I mean, you taught me that. It's like, why am I paying for other people's mistakes? Well, I have a whole industry paying for industry mistakes, and it's not a lot of these guys' fault, but they don't do everything perfect either. Everybody has their problems. But as we started to go down this journey together, it took a partnership with a material supplier, but it also took us not to get mad at each other when things failed. And we kind of brung this up throughout the process. And then, Chris will probably tell you, the day I said, no, I ain't doing this topically anymore. This is a waste of time. I don't care how good the material is. Contractors are not going to do this. It's too labor intensive.
There's a variable.
And when I said, we're turning this into an admixture, it was like, I told him I don't cure. What? And we did it. But then everything started to work. Chris is responsible for helping me and getting this to where it's at, period. I mean, he did all the mind work, the leg work, and figuring it out, but all I did was the place and finish and doing all the grunt work,
replication,
give him the pieces to look at and navigate us to get to that optimal level of where our material needed to be, whether it was surface area, particle size, and all that stuff. Once we figured all that out, and then
I just love how it was a perfect storm for you.
Oh,
and I recall this back when all this got started. You mentioned the slabs that cracked. You mentioned the research that you did, and you mentioned getting to the water is the why with that legal issue that you guys had with that project. And then this new solution or this new product kind of falls in your lap. And then you have a guy out in the field that'll be like, I'll try that. Right. So it was a perfect storm of all these things kind of coming together that really brought this thing off the ground.
To emphasize your point, I mean, it takes more than one person to build.
Yes.
And I'm not a finisher. There has to be a finisher.
Right.
So I chose Joe,
all the components,
even though he ignored me. I'm still okay with that.
Right. Right.
But I don't know that I need more help anymore, but there are problems that we haven't resolved yet. This is not fixed. No. It's just 80%. No, but I keep going back to Enemy at the Gate, Machiavelli, that, there is trouble. And you should probably take pains to avoid the trouble unless you fully understand it. Like you adjust your schedule. It's one of those days, I'm not pouring today. I've just heard this for the first time. There's a guy doing a bridge somewhere that said, I looked at the app on the phone and this is a red day. I'm not continuing. We're putting a header in. Holy cow.
Smart decision.
Now, we have never focused on that. We're focusing on PSI, time, schedule, money. And that's our culture.
Yep.
Right.
And that's okay. But when we focus on those four things, then you've just invited the boogeyman. Because when you invite the boogeyman, he'll come. It's like everything else. If you invite the wrong thing, the entity, he'll come. A little spiritual there. So the point there is you can choose. It's a red pill, blue pill story. You can take the blue pill and do everything like you're doing and you will be successful. Or you can take the red pill, be fully aware of what's moving underneath your feet, and avoid the boogeyman.
Know your nose.
Yeah, I wasn't content with the blue pill. I wasn't going to comply. I took the red pill. No, I want to know what's under the curtain.
See, and so at the end of the day, it's out there for everybody. And see, I'm trying to study the evolution of inventions. Now, again, there's always a speed. There's always a timeline. There's always a sequence. There's always critical elements blips along the curve. And the problem that I've noticed is that people are in denial
of the blip that we are now experiencing.
Of the boogeyman. They're in denial of the boogeyman. I mean, they've had this baby elephant syndrome their entire life. Like, I can forgive them. They don't know. Forgive them. They know not what they do. Because they've got the baby elephant syndrome. And I could coach them and say, look, it's all about perception and perspective and expectations. So if you're focusing on those three things, your mind may not be open to the solution because you're too busy bailing water out of the canoe.
Right. And so the solution could be right in the middle of their face, but they choose not to see it.
So here I am. I'm the CEO of Lilly. We're going to have a new convention center meeting. I want the steps to look good. How do you write that down in a spec? And you're not allowed to choose the supplier. You're not allowed to choose. I mean, they're taking more risks than you are because that guy's married to a woman. And she is totally unaware of the struggles that guy has had to get this to be attractive, a beautiful place. So she comes for the first meeting and the concrete's, why is that cracked? Did you do this? What were you thinking? Trust me, we're a matriarchal society. We are the weaker gender. They are the better gender by far.
Wow.
So this podcast is about educating, uniting, and what I'm seeing all over the country right now is this massive scaling.
Yeah.
I mean, it has increased. Now, to me, it seems like everybody's got ostrich syndrome. And I would say, when I say ostrich syndrome, it's not the concrete finishers are putting their head in the ground. They're putting their heads up going, what in the world is going on? Right. I see guys, I could probably count 100 of them right now. I've been doing this 35 years, and I've never seen the scaling that we're seeing right now than we did 5 years ago.
Right.
Well, it seems like the upper part of the industry up here has ostrich syndrome. They put their head in the ground, and the only thing they go to, well, you just need to cure better. Well, it's hard to bake a cake if you remove one of the eggs it calls for.
Yeah.
Well, when you decided to shift and put a material in and take a material out, there is an outcome coming. What is that outcome? So I'm getting questions on what can we do to fix this situation. The only thing I tell these people is, look, you got what you got. You are trying to fight a corporate giant that is, whether they like it or not, they're being dictators on what the material is going to be. Right. Yeah. You're going to use it whether you like it or not. Well, fine. If that's what you want to put into the market, then you need to just tell us. One of the guys I told the other day, he goes, I don't know if I can keep going in this industry. I'm about ready to just go to asphalt because the problems have escalated. And I said, don't do that. The really thing you only need to change now is adapt to new methods, new timing. So timing has shifted. So when we go to place and finish now, we have to pay more attention to detail. And a lot of people in our industry
haven't had to.
We haven't had to pay to that detail.
Much larger window.
So when you're facing these things in the industry, what are you telling them from a material supplier?
So now you've waded into type 1L.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm begging you to adjust your perspective.